Hey, everybody. Nobody's listening still. Once again, my name is Matthew. I'm joined tonight down there in adjacent San Francisco.
That's
Rachel.
me. I'm feeling extra adjacent tonight.
Yeah. So, we're going to talk about Mandalorian episode 4. Well, I guess it's what, chapter 20? I don't
Yeah.
know. Do you prefer it just saying like it's chapter 20, or do you like to go, well, it's episodes, like episode 4 of season 3?
I mean, I mentally, I don't like if you felt strongly in a different direction, I could be swayed. But when I write my notes, episode 4, the Foundling. That's what it says. It doesn't
Okay.
say this chapter bullshit. Because you know why? If we do that, then we buy into the lie of the book of Boba Fett, and I won't
Oh.
do it.
Well, this episode, I'm not going to tip my hand too much, gave me Book of Boba Fett vibes quite strongly.
Really?
Oh yes. We'll get
Okay.
into it. I don't know if we mentioned this on the previous episode or not, and anyone listening to this will probably drop before our Bad Batch episodes that are coming up. So we're getting there. We're catching up, but we're dropping this sort of solo episode of Mando tonight.
Hmm.
But Mandalorian apparently is getting very low ratings. I mean, quote unquote, low for, you know, Disney Plus. Not what they're expecting. And I think we talked about this a little bit
Yeah.
off radio or whatever last week. Do you have any thoughts on why Mandalorian may allegedly, according to a third party site who quote unquote tracks such things,
Yeah.
why the sudden precipitous drop in people watching this show?
I mean, I think it's still the Boba Fett hangover, right? Like, I don't know that I think Andor got some people back and reinvested, and it certainly increased our hype. But I do wonder if maybe people got so burned by the back to back of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, which had like marquee level characters, that they're like, I don't know if I really am invested in Star Wars to this degree anymore.
Yeah, and I was sort of thinking about that. But I'm like, everybody loved those episodes of Boba Fett that was
Yeah,
just Mando,
that's
right?
true.
Everybody loved them. So I don't like, other than the fact that it's really strange that they wrapped up an entire story arc in a completely different show and didn't even tell anybody at the beginning of this season that they did that. Um, I
Yeah.
don't know why people that would suddenly stop people from watching this, because people, I mean, we think love Mando and, you know, Grogu and all these cast of characters. I
Mhm.
think it could be what Marvel's experiencing right now. There's just a fatigue going on. There's
Mhm.
so much stuff coming out, and I think that people might be sort of rebelling a little bit against this. I have to watch every freaking show to
Yeah.
understand what's going on. No, I don't want that. I
Right.
don't want to do it. And I think that's a lot of Marvel's problem right now, especially with they have
Mhm.
like 100 TV shows. I still haven't even gotten a chance to watch Miss Marvel. I mean, it's going to be impossible for me to keep up on everything that's going on in the
Right.
MCU. And I
Right.
think people are like, this is now a job, right?
Yeah.
It's a job to keep up with all of it.
Mhm. And I mean, it's one thing if that job when you're clocking in and that job rules, but it's when you have a bunch of shifts that suck. I think it's harder to maybe go back and do it. So I think maybe it's a combination of the two, like it's a problem that's feeding into these two problems are sort of like exacerbating one another.
Yeah.
And I get it, like I get it. I am also behind on Marvel, and the idea I haven't even watched the new Ant-Man because I'm like, fuck, I haven't watched the three other things I'm supposed to watch before this. And how much of this do I need to know before I go into it, because that's how this is now. So I mean, I personally am experiencing it, and it's making. I haven't watched the new Black Panther, and I'm usually the first one to see all those movies, but I think I also am experiencing burnout.
Yeah, and I think that God, I don't know who it was that was saying it. Maybe it was Liam Neeson, I think, of all people. They were asking him about something about all the Star Wars content, if he'll ever come back for another, another Obi-Wan series, whatever. And I think Liam Neeson was like, it's putting all this stuff out so constantly, you lose the magic and the excitement
Mm,
of, oh, I'm getting a new Star Wars thing, right? I'm seeing a
right.
new movie or a new show comes out once every 2 years. People don't have the time to sort of breathe, and
Right.
build up that anticipation. Ooh, okay, the bad taste of Book of Boba Fett is sort of out of my mouth here. Okay, let's get in. No, it's like boom. Now you go going into Mandalorian, then boom. Then we're gonna go into Ahsoka, and then boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom. And I think people are just like, ugh, it's overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a shame too because there was a lull, and I do think that we're back on an upward trajectory. Bad
We are.
Batch is really great. This, I mean, we're obviously going to have some conflicting ideas about this episode, but like largely the season has been pretty great. And of course, Andor is a spectacular masterpiece.
Yeah.
So that's a shame. That
We're
is a
we're
shame.
definitely on an upward trajectory, and I think that I think people just go give Andor a chance. People go give
Dude.
it a chance
Dude.
because it was like, did Book of Boba Fett came out before Andor, right?
Yep.
So it was
Yep.
Obi-Wan, was
Well, I
Book of
think it
Boba
was
Fett,
book
then it was
then
Obi-Wan,
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
then Andor, and I
Yeah.
think you had two series that burned people, and then people were like, I don't give a fuck about Cassian Andor. I'm not gonna watch
Right.
this.
Right.
So
If
you
the
had,
thing about Obi-Wan sucked, what the hell is Andor going to be?
yes, exactly.
Mhm.
The answer is great, incredible.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Spectacular perfection.
But yeah,
Yes. Hmm.
so okay, well, hopefully, Mandalorian season 3, episode
Hmm.
4, gets us there. We'll find out. Let's go on the journey of the 25-minute episode.
Yeah.
So we had a long episode last week
Yeah.
with Dr. Pershing and everything, and everyone hated it because it was boring and where's Mando. So
You're crazy.
now we have a 25-minute episode of our new Mandalorian sitcom, Mandalorians living on the most dangerous beach in the galaxy and refusing to leave. So, Rachel, go ahead and take it away.
All right. We open up again, like you said, on the most dangerous beach in the Mando like covert, and it's training day. Everybody is sparring. There are a lot of Mandalorians. I thought we were running out of Mandalorians. No, we're not. Every time it's like Gremlins. Like every time you splash them, there's like 10 more Mandalorians.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
maybe they're all showing up, right?
yeah.
Because one of the questions I have, we'll get to one of the major bad writing points I have in this episode. But yeah, we'll continue. There's a lot more. There's a lot more.
Okay. So, this training day includes the younglings, and Mando insists.
Foundlings.
Yes, the foundlings. Yes. Sorry. Wrong nomenclature. The
Wrong
foundlings.
cult indoctrinating children.
Jesus, you're right. I hadn't thought about it that way. The good guys are pretty bleak in this. No. This is how the dark side gets you. Moving on. Okay. So Mando insists that Grogu also get involved with the sparring, and at first he looks very outmatched. They've matched him up against this kid Ragnar, who seems like a little badass. Cool name. And he takes his first few shots, and then Grogu does his thing. Like he gets encouraged and he goes like full Jedi hippity hop, and wins the match thanks to
I
the
love
training
her.
of Luke.
They're basically just playing paintball with one another. They got these like
Yes.
little darts, like paintball darts, and it's the
Yeah.
first of three. And I love like Grogu just stands there and he gets shot twice, and Din is just like, look, dude, I know what you can just fuck this kid up. I mean, just go ahead. You can show him that you can do the Force. Just go ahead and do it.
Uh-huh. It's actually kind of a cute moment. We all know where it's going. There's no real tension that he's not gonna like do the little Yoda hop. Like it's coming. But it was a reference to Luke, which I thought would make your heart happy.
Yeah,
Like recognizing
because
his Padawaning.
yeah, because Bo's like, you taught him that, and he's like, not me. I didn't teach him how to do that.
So it's cute. It's a fun little kind of force moment, but playtime gets interrupted by a shriek hawk who comes down and scoops up, wouldn't you know it, Ragnar. Is this where the writing goes off the wall for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much where the writing starts going off the wall. Okay, so, all right, I'm gonna vent here just a little
Here
bit.
we go. Here we go. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, guys. We complained about the Book of Boba Fett, with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand doing the dumbest shit possible throughout the entire show. And this show, and I'm blaming Jon Favreau for this because Jon Favreau, he's taken shit he did in Book of Boba Fett and bringing it over here. This has to be the dumbest covert of Mandalorians in the entire like history of Mandalorians. Number one,
Okay.
episode one, we saw a giant fucking crocodile come out and kill a bunch of them, right? In
Mm-hmm.
front of the same cave that they're now having all their little foundlings out practicing on. Episode one, they were freaking out because their foundlings were getting killed by a giant crocodile. So why would you continue to train right there? I don't know. But then, okay, so then giant bat creature comes down, snatches up one of the foundlings because of course, and they go out of their way in this episode. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. I think it's Vizsla, right? He's like, basically, he's like, this happens all the time. It's not the first time it's ever happened to us before. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Yeah, it keeps happening over and over. Oh, we've never been able to get it because our jetpacks run out of fuel. We've never been able to find, its nest or whatever. I'm like, really? Because Bo-Katan just gets in her ship and flies and finds it. And I'm like, are you telling me the Mandalorians on this beach do not have any ships that they could have got in and flown reconnaissance mission around this fucking lake to find out where this giant bat resides? Are you kidding me? And then there's more, but that's just to tee it up. Big Book of Boba Fett vibes here with making Mandalorians incredibly stupid, which I do not like.
Okay. All right. So, like you said, they give chase, but their jetpacks run out of fuel, which I don't know if we've ever seen that happen before, but I guess they do not have endless nuclear
They
reactors
need
on
to
there.
for plot reasons.
Well, yeah. And also to show that Bo is a natural leader and very smart because she hops in her ship and figures out where the Shriek is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
says they're gonna have to do a little climb. Um, which leaves Grogu behind with the armorer, who makes him a new piece of armor, a Beskar Rondel with the insignia of the Mythosaur. Again, Mythosaur content. We're riding that Mythosaur. It's happening. I know it. I believe it. I'm manifesting it. But watching her at the forge triggers a memory for Grogu, and we flash back to Order 66. Is this also? Am I gonna? Are you going after Order 66
I'm not gonna
scenes?
I'm not gonna go after Order 66 in terms of content. I will go after it in terms of this is probably the first section of this season where I was like, okay, the CG they kind of shortchanged it here. I
Oh,
thought it looked
really?
pretty bad, especially when they're flying around in Coruscant. Hey, guess what, guys? We're back on Coruscant. Is anybody complaining? Is anybody complaining after that? We're fucking back on Coruscant again.
Oh, I mean, you're never gonna get any complaints out of me, especially because we also saw the Umate again. I was like, hey, I know that place now. It was like
Yeah,
it's become like a little bit of a landmark,
yeah,
that we
yeah,
can
and I don't
recognize.
care. I don't care. We can spend all the time we want on Coruscant. I just, again, I find it hilarious that people constantly complain, "Oh, we're always going to Tatooine," and it's like we're always on Coruscant too, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just give it a minute. The internet will be
Uh,
mad about it, I'm sure.
yeah.
Okay, so the other sort of big thing that I think the headline news that everybody has been talking about is we see Grogu's escape, right? We pick it as we pick things up. The Jedi are getting slaughtered by the clones, and Grogu's making a run for it in his little egg scooter. And he is rescued or met by a Jedi who people who watch everything on Disney Plus already know, but was new to me, Kelleran Beck,
Well,
who yeah, he tells him like everything's gonna be all right, kid, and he of course is known like this is a big deal because he is played by Ahmed Best, the actor most famous for playing Jar Jar Binks, in a big sort of redemption role moment.
yeah, and this was cool. Like I liked this sort of redemption. And what's funny is this Kelleran Beck character, he actually played it first on a game show. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
game show for kids, like kind of like a like a Nickelodeon Wild and Crazy Kids or Double Dare or something like that kind of a game show thing. I like this. I thought it was cool. Ahmed Best is he was unfairly maligned
Mm-hmm.
by the Star. I mean, the Star Wars fan base is toxic. I'll say
Yeah,
it.
it is.
It's a toxic fan base. It's an awfully toxic fan base, and this guy did not do anything in those. I know everyone hates Jar Jar. Okay, everybody hates Jar Jar. It's not Ahmed Best's fault
No.
that George Lucas told him this is how I want you to play it. I think I read that he's like one of the first actors to ever fully mocap an actual
Mm.
fully CG character. So I don't know if it came before. Why am I blanking on his name? Gollum. Andor.
Uh,
Uh,
Stop saying names. Hold on, I
why?
almost have it. It's almost there. I can. Okay.
Why am I blanking on his name? What the hell?
Oh my god, I had it for like 1 second and now it's gone. Fuck. What is it?
Andy Serkis.
Thank you. God.
Shit. I'm gonna edit out all that
Leave
weird
it in. Leave it
awkward space.
in.
Andy Serkis. Yeah, so I think he actually was pre Andy Serkis in doing like a fully motion capture CG character. Because when did the prequels come out? In late 90s? It was
Mm-hmm.
Phantom Menace, 99 or something like that. So this is a
Mm.
guy whose place in the history of that part of cinema should be much, much higher. But of
Right.
course, everybody hates Jar Jar. Though I did think what was interesting about this scene is I think there's a subtle redemption for Jar Jar in here.
I had the same
It's
thought.
redemption for Jar Jar because when Kelleran gets to the platform, it's a Naboo
Yes.
cruiser and it's Naboo like soldiers that are trying to get all those people to escape. And I think they thought there was going to be more Jedi at that point. And who's the only one around that could have done that? Senator Jar Jar.
That's what
So
I was thinking. So are we gonna get like both sides? Ahmed Best gonna reprise, and we're gonna see like a little redemption. Because, like you said, so much of what is happening with these shows is like this backfill that like it enhances the films. So are we getting a redemption for Jar Jar? I feel like maybe.
maybe, although in canon, not that Dave Filoni seems to really care about the comic books and the books that are being sort
Mm.
of written, because he
Mm-hmm.
has retconned his own stuff, like the Bad Batch and Kanan's origin and all that stuff with the Bad Batch was directly contradicts what Disney extra, outside the live action stuff or animated stuff had said about that. But in canon, I think it's in Chuck Wendig's Aftermath or one of those books in the trilogy. Jar Jar basically becomes a homeless street clown
Whoa.
on Naboo. It's
Whoa.
kind of dark. Like everybody,
Whoa.
because everybody hates him. Like
Well,
the entire galaxy hates him and blames him for the Empire because of course he
I
casts a
mean,
deciding vote.
that.
So I don't know. I don't think we're gonna see a flashback to Jar Jar Binks. I think it might just be kind of there for like, hey, look, he wasn't all bad. He tried to save some Jedi, which ended up saving Grogu, that Jedi Mandalorian that you all love. That's Jar
Mhm.
Jar's doing. He had a hand in that. I think it's a wink, wink, but I don't think we're gonna see Jar Jar. But we
I know.
might. Dave
I mean,
Filoni doesn't hate Jar Jar. I mean, he
I
was in
mean,
lots of Clone Wars
yep.
episodes.
Yeah, whenever he'd show up, I was like, oh no. This episode is about to suck. But like maybe. Okay, so like you said, the rescue mission is successful because of the Nabloonians. I don't know, whatever you call people from Naboo. And we'll see what happens there. I'm
Naboozians.
guessing Naboozians. I have a
I
feeling
like
we're not.
that.
Is that not right? It sounds correct.
I have no idea. I just think it sounds cool.
All right.
Naboozians.
Well, it's canon now. um. So yeah. So I think this is probably not the last we're going to see of the story. I'm curious to see where this goes next. It was very very fun to see Ahmed Best get like not just on a game show, but like actually in the series get a little bit of
Yeah.
redemption. And it was fun because honestly, across I didn't see anybody who wasn't like, oh, this is cool. So I think that he's ripe
Yeah.
for a redemption
and
personally.
and that's the thing about the toxicity of fandom, right? We will
Yeah.
constantly trash on people. And I mean, Ahmed Best had to go to like therapy because he had so much
Oh.
hate. I mean, it's a if you ever like look at some of his interviews about, he was very disillusioned with Star Wars because it kind of ruined his life.
Yeah.
Who was the kid who played Anakin? Was it
Jake
Jake Lloyd?
Lloyd.
It ruined
Yeah.
his life because people just hated on him so much. I'm like, dude, he's a kid. Give him a break. I
Right.
understand, like, not there are kid actors who are better than others, but I'm like, you put this hate on George Lucas. He's the one that made the decisions. It wasn't Jake Lloyd. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
don't hate this kid, but it ruins people's lives.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that the fandom can be so toxic towards Ahmed Best, but then sort of like bring him back into their arms when hey, you get a cameo as a Jedi. We like you as that.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, so everybody, like, yeah, we get it. You love Star Wars. We love Star Wars. Take it down a notch. It's
Yeah,
okay. It's
yeah.
okay. Does it occasionally disappoint me? Yes. Do I feel the need to take to social media and be like, "You're a terrible person"? No. Like, get it together,
Yeah,
folks. Get it together.
no need to bully kids and
Yeah.
Ahmed Best playing a CG alien. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
All right. So we cut from this backstory back to the rescue mission that Matthew loves.
Oh,
But they
fuck
stop
this mission.
to have to eat, and this is Bo's first time having eaten after joining this covert. And we learn that they do not eat together. They go their separate ways so that they can take off their masks. But that she gets to sit by the fire because she's the squad leader. I'm guessing you think this is stupid. I actually think this
No,
is interesting. Okay.
I think this is cool. And what I
Yes.
think was cool about this is it was funny because my fiance when we were watching this before it got to the scene, she was like, "Well, how do they eat? Like, oh, how do they? I mean, they have to take off their helmets and stuff like that." It's like, no, I love that Bo-Katan's like, "Well, what do I do here? Like, how am I supposed to eat here?" And he's like, "Well, you walk away, sort of thing." And I love the fact that sort of she just comes in, and the actual because she's a member of their clan or their
Yeah.
covert now, a full
Yeah.
member,
Yeah.
and even Vizsla's like, "Look, you're leader. You get to sit by the fire." I mean, that's and no one's there. There's not like a jealousy component to it. It
Mm-hmm.
is they believe so much that she is one of them and she gets all the honors
Right.
that they do. Now, my problem with this scene is not in what's happening in the scene. It's the fact that like, are you kidding me? This giant bat took this foundling and we're gonna spend the night. We're gonna go to sleep because we got to come up with these reasons why. Well, you can't, a Mandalorian can't scale the mountain at night. um, I find this whole the writing of the actual we've got to go save this foundling to be like this is silly. This is bad writing. You could have come up with a much better main mission storyline that had all of this stuff in it that didn't require me as an audience member to be like, okay, so this giant bat took this foundling hours ago. You're trying to make it, but now we got to stop. Now we got to go to sleep. We got to spend the night. Then we're gonna go climb this thing and try to find if this kid's alive, like 24 hours later or however long it is. And it's weird, especially what happens when they finally get up there, which we'll get to. But to me, the writing is just bad for the main plot of this episode. The mission that they're on is incredibly stupid. It's
Yeah.
really stupid. But the little things in there, the lore building, and Bo trying to figure out like, okay, I want to be part of this, right? Because we were actually asking last week, well, is she a good guy or bad guy? Like, is she
Mm-hmm.
using them or is she really
Mm-hmm.
trying to be part of them? This episode makes me think she's really trying to be a part of them. Like she
Yeah.
feels like this is her family. Um, so I like all that little stuff. It's the main mission here that I'm struggling with.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my one sort of pushback on the like resting for the night is that it is totally un not it's totally common in a search and rescue when it gets too dark to have to stop. Like that is always a we see that in every like TV show about it. They'll be like, it's getting dark, we have to regroup in the morning. Like maybe that's the rationale. I don't know. I don't feel really strongly about it, but that might be
It's
counter information.
it's a giant bat trying to eat the foundling or feed it to someone. And Vizsla says this has happened many times before.
Okay, fair, fair.
It's like, come on, dude.
I
Then
know, I
show some
know.
show some motivation to go get this kid, especially since it's your fucking kid.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Yep. 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 But I did have the other element of this that I liked was that it in addition to the lore of like how this works, it made you think about like what is that in terms of the social structure? Like so much of our culture as people is sharing meals together. Like we
Yeah.
break bread. It's how we celebrate. It's how we get to know each other. It's how we date. Like so much of culture is based around sharing meals together. And the Mandalorians in the Night's Watch just or Children of the Watch just don't. They just don't, and that's interesting to me because it
Yeah.
like that kind of bonding and connection. The only time I guess if you're married Mandalorians, they're the only people who can actually eat together. I don't know. That
Yeah.
feels like a big, interesting idea.
Their bonding is fighting each other and training
Right.
each other every morning, right?
Right.
It's sort of similar to like what the Spartans would do back in the
Yep.
day, right? It's like the kids that they train them, and boom, this is your bonding experience. I have no doubt that Grogu's going to end up bonding with Ragnar at some point in time, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where that comes in. But yeah, the ideas of culture throughout what
Mm-hmm.
the Star Wars is doing recently, whether it's Bad Batch or Mandalorian or Andor and stuff, is awesome because it's stuff
Mm-hmm.
we've never really seen before, and I
Yeah.
like all that stuff.
Yeah.
But again, I've seen Andor. I want the writing to be better. I demand the writing to be better because I complained about Book of Boba Fett about it. I
Mm.
can't give this a pass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This one was not as egregious to me. Like Book of Boba Fett was just like oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. Whereas this, I mean, I see what you're saying and I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's not the same level. It's somewhere in between. Okay, so it's the next day and it's time to scale to the nest where we discover that Big Daddy Vizsla is indeed Big Daddy Vizsla because Ragnar, as you said, is his kid. Also, we learn that he has no chill. He just like jumps into the damn nest.
yep,
Um,
it's his
and
kid. He
yeah,
loves his kid.
yep, that's true. So we get another sort of action scene with the Mandos versus the Shriek. They manage to take it down and save the kid. Surprises no one. It's like the Mandalorian is not gonna do like Bad Batch. It's gonna do like
Yeah,
it keeps it pretty fluffy.
and again, this is another just sort of overall complaint I'm having with this season. We're getting a lot of monster fights. We're
Yeah,
not we're not getting the show to move forward like in a
yeah.
way in which I feel like all these fights can be done in a way in which the overall story is progressing,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, how many monster fights? It feels like we've had 1,000 monster fights already, which are cool. Don't get me wrong. When Mama Bat Monster flies down and then barfs up the foundling. I'm like, has that foundling been in its stomach for the past day? And if you look closely, that kid who comes out is not even wet. Doesn't even have any goo on him or
Oh,
anything. It looks
jeez.
it looks bad. Like it looks unfinished. It looks rushed. Again, a problem I have with the CG in this episode. I'm like, you didn't even try to make this kid look like he's been in the belly of this monster for 20 4 hours. Again, yeah, it's cool watching the Mandalorians fly around and take down this thing. And oh yeah, here's a cameo of the crocodile. It's still in the lake, guys. Just you know.
Yeah,
But I'm just kind of like, okay. I feel like
yeah.
you could have done a better story showing Bo doing stuff and taking charge than her just flying after it with her with her ship and be like, I know where it's at. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
To
I
me,
mean, that's fair. I mean, there are some fun. We do get a little like you said, Jurassic Park moment where like the thing jumps out, and I guess it's also a Star Wars thing, right? Like it's the whole like ship when they're like this is not a
yeah,
moon, like that. There's a
yeah, yeah.
reference to that happening right here. So yeah, they get back to the covert and they get a hero's welcome, and they've brought along some new foundlings, baby Shriekawks that they're 100% gonna ride. Right, or are they gonna eat them? No, because they're foundlings. They're gonna ride them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. Was she joking when she said she brought the failings? I mean, are we going to see those things wearing in Mandalorian helmets? like, I don't think so. I feel like it was a joke.
All right, so we're gonna see some big old drumsticks, is what you're
It's yeah,
saying.
it has to be a joke. I mean, you're
I
jumping
don't
the
know.
you're jumping the Shriekawk at this point in time. If we see them
You
riding
don't think
Shriekawks,
Grogu's getting on a Shriekawk? Because I feel like Grogu's getting on a Shriekawk.
uh,
Sorry.
I hope that's not where they go with it. I really hope.
All right. So this last scene, I think it's very interesting. We'll see how you feel about it. But in the process of this rescue mission that Matthew loves and thinks is awesome, she
Worst
gets.
thing so far in all of the Mandalorian.
Oh, man. Okay. So her armor gets damaged. So she goes to visit the armorer who makes her a new piece. And instead of getting the Nighthawk or Night Owl, she gets the Mythosaur signet on it, which every Mandalore has a right to. Um, and in the process, she ends up confiding in the armorer that she really saw the mythosaur. And the armorer's response is just, when you walk the way of the Mandalore, you will see many things. This is the way.
Yeah, because at first the armorer seems to think that she was like hallucinating, like in a dream or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, no, no, no. I really saw it. It's down there in the the mines of Mandalore, like it's in the water. And I couldn't tell at the very end if the armor actually believes her or not. It was left on kind of a, because eventually she's like, well, yeah, this is the way. You're gonna see things. This is the way. I don't know. Do you think the armor believes her, or do you think the armor thinks she's just, you know, I don't know, seeing hallucinations of something?
I think the armorer at first thought she meant like a vision. And then when she was like, no, 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 I really saw it, I think she was like, yeah, I mean, that's possible. Like, I think she's open to the possibility because whatever sort
She
of
believes in the
mystical side,
prophecy, right?
yes. And so I think she probably believes her. And what's shocking about it is like how nonplussed she is. Like, she's just like, yeah, this
Yes.
is the way. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
totally reasonable. This is the way. This if you follow this religious path, miracles will happen. This is the way.
Yeah. And almost shows how devoted the armor is to her way of her belief system, essentially,
Mhm.
right? Where it's not even wouldn't even be shocking, if they came up, because even she seems, even in the previous episodes where Din's like, well, I'm gonna go to Mandalore, I'm gonna bathe in the waters, and she's kind of like, uh-huh, okay, yeah, you go ahead and go. You go do that. The poison planet that none of us have ever felt the need to go check out,
Yeah.
even with the droid.
Yes.
Wonderful writing, John. What wonderful writing. Um, but then even when Din comes back, she's just kind of like, yep, he did it. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true, all
I
of it.
mean, she's not phased by it. I think if you're a person with like whatever level of faith she has, like anything is possible, which
She is a
is
full true believer.
yeah, for real, for real, for real.
So the question is, like, what happens now? Like,
Yeah.
does does Bo take them all back to Mandalore and be like, look, it's fine. I mean, clearly the covert knows that Mandalore is safe to go check out. I mean, they both came back from it, Bo and Din, and so wouldn't you have some sort of curiosity if you were these Mandalorians? Like, well, maybe we should go back to our home world. Let's
Mhm.
check it out. Why wouldn't you do that? That would be a question I have. So if they don't go back to Mandalore again, that's going to be a question I have with the writing of the show. Is like,
Right.
why are the Mandalorians not doing the obvious thing that everybody would do? You know.
Right.
So
Well, maybe they're gathering their forces here on this beach before they go. Like you said, they're gathering here for some reason because every time we see the Mandalorians, there's like 50 more of them. So
that's true. It's I don't know.
maybe we're just getting ahead. Our ideas are getting ahead of the actual episodes. Like maybe that is where we're leading, is because like there is a larger sort of moment that's coming. So like right now, it's like gathering and like doing some character building, and then we're going to Mandalore.
Well, they feel like it feels. It's hard for me to describe how I feel about this season. I certainly don't think this season is great by any means. I think there are great moments in it,
Mm-hmm.
but it on one hand it feels like it's moving so fast,
Yeah.
right? Where everything that we've had a question about has been resolved. I mean, everything from the first two seasons has essentially been resolved in the first four episodes of this. We even know who the Jedi was now that saved Grogu. It's like they've resolved all of that so quickly, but on the other hand, I don't really know what the main thrust and story of this season is. Is it just Bo Katan's going to ride the Mythosaur? Is that the story we're telling? Because like arguably, the Mandalorian is barely in this episode at all, right? This is mostly focused on Bo-Katan and sort of her journey to sort of lead these Mandalorians and her talking to the armor and whatnot. Um, so I don't know. I don't know what the story is here. I
Mhm.
think that's my main thing. And interestingly enough, so I talked to our good friend Steve. We were gaming this weekend, and Steve has made the decision that he will never watch anything else to do with the Mandalorian. He's
Why?
he's not watching season 3 because in his mind he's like, look, season 1 and season 2 told the perfect story.
Hmm. Okay.
Din had a journey, and his journey was to get Grogu to his people, and it ended perfectly. It ended exactly how it needed to end, and he's like continuing this on. He does not want to ruin what was perfect in those first 2 seasons for him.
Mhm.
And I know if Steve were to watch this season, he would hate it. He would absolutely hate it because even I am just kind of like I'm not fully on board with a lot of this stuff yet. It's
Mhm.
like I'm a yo-yo. Like they'll throw me a really good piece of filet mignon. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, and then we have stupid writing in this episode, which I'm like, oh, come on, aren't we better than this yet? Can't you give me more stuff with the Mandalorians and the lore? Why are we doing this
Mhm.
stupid bat hawk thing again? Another monster sort in such a short episode, like 25 minutes if you
Yeah.
exclude the thing. I'm just like, I feel like they have a set amount of money that Disney has given them for this show, and they're basically like, this is all we can put to keep the budget in place. We have to keep these things slow or short,
Mhm.
and I think that's, selfishly, I'm like that it's just not enough.
Right.
Especially when you have all these other shows that are like hour long and they do so much build up. Whether it is
Right.
like, Last of Us that people really love, or Game of Thrones, or something
Mhm.
like that. You're not seeing 25-minute episodes of Game of Thrones,
Right.
you, and that's what I'm having a problem with. So we're halfway through, and what is the story of season 3? Like,
Right.
what's our goal here?
Right. I mean, I feel like this is a reoccurring thing to some degree because this is a conversation we're having about Bad Batch as well. We're like, okay, we are 3/4 of the way through this season. Where are we going? And then all of a sudden, it seems to be have taken a direction. So I'm wondering if all of this, is just setting up stuff that will ultimately turn into something, but we can't see the pieces because we're not there yet. Um, like, because
Maybe.
I do think the Pershing stuff is obviously really important. I do think that the character stuff that we're getting with Bo is really important. I do think this relationship between Den and Grogu and the direction that it's taking and the tenor of that relationship that has changed so much is important. So, I mean, we shall see. It was also, I don't know. I also feel like that's somewhat true of last season as well. Like we didn't really have anything happening like in terms of an overarching story until those last sort of handful of episodes that led into the
But we knew the main story, right? The main
right.
story of Mando trying to, the armor gave him his job. Like, you've got to find his people, take him to his people. So we knew there was a back sort of main mission that Mando was on. In this, who's the main character of this season? Is it what's Mando doing with the dark saber? We haven't really discussed that at all. Doesn't the covert know that Din has the dark saber? And if so, shouldn't they all be following him? That's all been set aside. It seems like we're focusing more, and not that I don't dislike focusing on Bo-Katan. Believe me, I
Mhm.
think I'd rather have a Bo-Katan series than
Mhm.
sort of pigeonholing her into again a show about the Mandalorian and it not really being about him or his journey or his
Well,
story.
maybe
Because
she's the Mandalorian this season. Maybe the Mandalorian is changes from season to season.
I saw a YouTuber who was mentioning that the Mandalorian they think has always been Grogu. Like, so the
Mm.
title of the show, The Mandalorian, has never been about Din. It's about Grogu. Because if you look at it, Grogu is the one who's actually turning into a Mandalorian. And we've just sort of focused on Din the entire time as, oh, it's clearly
Right.
about him when it's actually about Grogu.
That could be.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I want something to happen
Yeah.
which is weird because things are happening, but it's just conclusions like quickly wrapping up arcs from seasons 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I do think they're trying to pivot, but like maybe slow it down a little bit. I think that's fair. So this episode was directed by Carl Weathers. So that's of note, our boy Carl.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
it was. I mean, kind of directed well, I guess.
I
And it
think
was
it
all
was
right.
directed well.
I mean, the flying
Mm,
around and in the sky and it all looked cool.
mm-hmm. There's some cool shots, and I
Yeah.
liked all the fighting on the, like that the beginning part where they're all sort of sparring on the beach is very cool.
Did you notice? Now that I think about it, one thing I noticed right away when they first showed those opening shots of all the Mandalorians shooting towards the water. Maybe maybe they're shooting towards the water to keep the giant crocodile from coming out or something. Because
Maybe.
I'm just like, what are they shooting at? There are no targets out there in the ocean. What are they firing at? And we never see what they're firing at. But now
Hmm.
that I think about it, that doesn't make sense because the giant crocodile, he took them out with no problem. They were shooting
Yeah.
with missiles and everything. So I don't know. Get off that
Yeah.
beach, guys. Get off that beach. Din, take your dark saber out and just lead them 100 yards further into shore. Like, just follow me the length of one football field, and we'll be better.
Like,
Jeez.
okay, so the other things, Bo saving Ragnar's son, or saving Ragnar,
Yes.
does that resolve the Kreese Vizsla drums that I was thinking talking about last week?
Okay, so here's the thing. I had a problem with this as well. I love the idea that there's going to be some sort of tension between this covert, and I was
Me
really
too.
looking forward and hoping, like, okay, there's a whole history there with those families, an entire history, and it seems like with this episode, they're like, nope, we're not gonna do anything like that. They're all buddy buddies. They're all
Yeah.
best friends again. And I'm just like, oh, that's disappointing if that's the way they go with it. Because then it's like, okay, um, there's gonna be no drama at all
Yeah.
with anybody in this thing. They're just gonna
Yeah.
follow. I don't know who the leader is. Is it gonna be Bo? Is it gonna be the armor? Is it gonna be Din? I don't even know who the leader of this covert is, honestly,
Yeah.
anymore.
I mean, I think it's technically the armorer, but we all know that this is changing, right? Yeah, I agree with you. And I do feel like they were setting up tensions between them in those previous episodes where like he would just be eyeballing the hell out of Din as well as Bo. So I don't know. Maybe there's a truce that will be broken. Like she's gonna do something and he'll be like, typical Kreese. Rah!
Well, Mandalorians do have a long history of fighting each other, so
Yes.
I mean that
Yes.
that is a thing. And again, while I'm thinking about it, it reminds me of the quick resolution of this. Reminded me of what also I thought was poor writing in this season, which is the whole IG-11 thing. Right?
Yeah.
I need IG-11 to get to Mandalore. I don't trust anything other. Oh, here you go. Here's an R5 unit, and we're good.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
good. The
that was
next.
weird. I don't
It's
understand that.
it's like John Favreau is writing stuff to build some sort of tension and then immediately pulling the rug out from under everyone. Nope, just kidding. No tension here.
I
It's
mean, he's still presumably getting that part, right? Like the IG stuff is not resolved. We're still going to circle back to him. I don't know why, because now he's been to the freaking planet. But I do feel like we had that whole scene where he's like, okay, if I get this processor, can I bring him back? I think it's because they want him in the final fight, whatever that's going to be.
yeah, I agree. He's too
Yeah.
popular of a character. They want Taika on thing talking and doing the
Yeah.
voice and everything. And again, bad writing. Just let the character die. That's what made the character's sacrifice so great.
Mm-hmm. All right, last of my questions. Why did Bo only tell the armorer? I was wondering because we've had these conversations about her
Ah.
motivations. Is she telling the armorer because she sees her as some sort of spiritual leader? Or is she trying to tell the armorer, I seen a Myth Star? I'm just saying.
It's a
He
good
appeared to
question.
me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think really anybody in this covert does anything or believes anything until the armor has basically rubber stamped it. Like, yep, this is good. Just like none of them believe that Din had bathed in the waters of Mandalore until the armor confirmed it.
Yeah.
So I think Bo kind of looks at the armor as the leader of this particular covert. She seems to
Mm-hmm.
be the one with her head on straight and the true believer of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, this is real. This is real. So that's kind of why I think that she did it.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I don't know. We'll see. I'm very invested in the sort of interdynamics of the Mandalorians and kind of how they jockey position, and I hope that that is not something that disappears because it is so intrinsic to the whole Mandalorian vibe. But that's just stood
Yeah.
out to me, and
Yeah.
question mark.
And I think she's also just kind of she doesn't know her way around this covert yet, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't necessarily trust everybody. She's coming from, I mean, she's had a long history of
Oh
Mandalorians
yes.
Mandalorians betraying one another and her betraying other Mandalorians and all this stuff. So, just hey, yesterday, congratulations, you're one of the group.
Yeah.
Then she's like, I don't know anybody here other than Din. And I think all Mandalorians probably really put a high value on the people who create the armor. Um, I do think it's kind of like the spiritual leader sort of thing, maybe like the equivalent of a priest or something.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'd be curious as what would Din's reaction be if she said that? Would Din
Mm-hmm.
would Din believe her, or would Din be kind of pissed off that she didn't tell him, and that she's kind of hiding the fact from him that this happened? Because again, why is she not telling him? Like there must be.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because he's got the dark saber and she wants it? And she wants to ride that mythosaur with the dark saber in her hand and say, "I'm leading all of Mandalore now. You must follow me," sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think Din would care. He'd be like, "Sweet. How do we? What do you want me to do? How do you want me to help out? Do you want me to throw the fight between us so that you can have this?
Right.
I'll put on a
Right.
great show for you. I'll go 4 or 5 rounds. I'll make sure I
Mm-hmm.
punch you a few times, and then you can just have it because I don't want it."
Right.
Uh,
Right.
yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, that would be really disappointing if that's how this got resolved, but I don't know that I would put it past old Favy. Not so savvy, that Favy. We'll see.
Nice. Not so savvy that favvy. I like that. I'm going to start using that every single time I see a bad writing in this show. Not so savvy, favvy. But
Oh no, what have I done?
so yeah, folks, let us know. What did you think of episode 4? I was fairly disappointed with this one.
Hmm.
Rachel, not so much. You
Not
seem to
so
like it a
much.
lot more than I did.
Yeah.
But let us know in the comments. How are you guys feeling about this season so far? I know we got one listener out there who's just
Yeah.
dying to leave a comment and let us know what you think. And then coming up this next week, we're going to have episode 5 of Mando.
Yep.
But then we're going to also drop some episodes catching up on all the Bad Batch stuff. And the Bad
Yes.
Batch stuff, just as a tease, I know Rachel hasn't seen episode 14 yet. I
I
think
have
it's called
not.
Tipping Point. I think that's the
Yes.
name of the title.
Even the
Uh,
name is good. Yeah.
yeah, it sets up some pretty crazy stuff, I think.
God.
And man, Crosshair's going through some shit, guys.
Oh no!
He's going through
Oh
some shit.
right, because he's on Tantus. Oh shit.
He's on Tantus, locked down on to
Oh
like a
no.
mind flayer esque sort of.
Oh damn! The Mind Flayer is getting all kinds of play right now in Star Wars
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. But
Whew.
I guess we'll find out. Does he have a hero moment? I don't know. We shall see. Or does he revert back to the dark side from his mind flaying?
No! Oh, no! Come on! You got this, Crosshair. I believe in you.
So thanks again for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week. See you then.
Bye, everybody.